Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dharma Helper and this is DH Reviews. This is my Season 1, Episode 3 review of Scorpion. If you want to check out my other reviews of Scorpion, there will be a link in the description of this video to the playlist that I created that has every Scorpion video that I put out so far, as well as an annotation here on the screen that will take you to that playlist as well. With that, also I put out earlier this week my Gotham Season 1 Episode 3 reviews and my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2 Episode 3 review. And those will be linked in the description of this video as well for you to check out if you want to go ahead and do that. Season 1 Episode 3 of Scorpion was called a Cyclone, and that was a reference to the fact that a group of scorpions is called a cyclone, and that sort of plays into the episode a little bit with Walter's interaction with Ralph and all that stuff. And the main story of this episode was that the team was being tested by Homeland Security, and they entered this exercise, a military exercise, to test the viability of the team in a more military geared operation. And ultimately the exercise is a failure, and both sides sort of have reasons and rationalities as to what led to that being a failure. The Marines and Homeland Security that they were working with have all these different points and critiques of the team and why they failed the mission. And then the team, and specifically Walter, have all these different critiques and points about the things that the Marines were doing and Homeland Security was doing that led to the failure of that mission. And it's interesting to see them butt heads a little bit, and ultimately the team is benched pretty much. The director of the FBI and Homeland Security and all that pretty much tell Cabe to put the team on the sidelines for this mission. And the story of the episode continues, and what basically is happening is that there was a bombing on a building that took out the internet for LA and I believe some of the Southwest area, and the team again is pretty much forced to either tag along and in an unofficial capacity help with this mission and help bring this bomber to justice. And an FSG agent says, and he brings them on the mission and he helps them out and he gives them a chance to prove themselves. And ultimately it's revealed that this FSG agent was behind the bombings, and that he was trying to hide a file or an email that was pretty shady and had some shady information in it. And so the team brings him to justice and pretty much proves himself at the end of this episode here, and gets back in the good graces of the FBI. And that's pretty much the sort of episode and the storyline for this episode. With that, I want to talk a little bit about the characters and the development of these characters in this episode, and I want to start with Cabe. And there's a pretty important revelation in this episode about Cabe, in that we learn that in New York he had a bit of a flaming out with an incident with the Baghdad incident and all this stuff, and how he was pretty much not promoted but rather reassigned to Los Angeles, and how him building Scorpion as a team is his way of redeeming himself, and how he's invested into the team on a level that is a little bit more intense and a little bit more personal than we were initially believing here coming into the episode. And again, we're not seeing a lot of the stuff that Walter was talking about in the premiere, and Walter was, hinting at with Cabe and his greater good theory, and how he will do anything to accomplish a mission, and how he's pretty much cold and calculating and sacrificing, which to me says one of two things. It says either Cabe is playing a long game here and he's working these geniuses over and trying to trick them and trying to hide his intentions and his greater good theory and all that, and eventually we're going to see the curtain pull back on that, or maybe Cabe is a little bit more genuine, and his interaction and his history with Walter changed him, and he grew from that. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a growth, and we're seeing a new Cabe, and we're not going to see Cabe slip up and he's actually different and better than what Walter remembers. And to me, that could go either way right now. That's 50-50. It would be interesting to see Cabe pull that curtain back and the team react to that. But again, I'm not sure if that's the case 100%. Like I said, it's 50-50 up in the air right now, and Cabe is going to have to... Cabe's actions moving forward are going to be pretty telling in terms of which one of those is actually the truth. Talking a little bit about Walter, in this episode, he continues his interaction and his growth and his development with the relationship with Ralph. He gives him that riddle that has, what kind of punch is a jellyfish's favorite, or what kind of punch does a jellyfish like? And that goes back to the fact that a group of scorpions is called a cyclone. A group of jellyfish is called a smack, and that's the answer to the riddle, is a smack. So he has that whole scene with Ralph where he says a group of scorpions is called a cyclone, and they're very loyal to their cyclone, and we are all of us, members of the cyclone, you included. So again, that development and that growth, and Walter reaching out to Ralph, and Walter reaching out to Paige and sticking up for Paige. Because in this episode, Toby has his doubts about Paige, and Walter sticks up for her and says, I saw something in each of you, Toby, Happy, and Sylvester. When I built this team, I saw something in each of you, and I see something in her, and you just have to have faith in me and faith in her that I know what I'm doing and that she knows what she's doing. And that was, again, I think, laying the groundwork for the relationship that Walter and Paige are going to have moving forward, and the relationship that Walter and Ralph are going to have moving forward. Speaking a little bit about Toby, in the last episode, at the end of the last episode, we saw Toby sink back into his gambling, and in this episode, we see him, come into his own a little bit in terms of being the show's wisecracking sort of character, and he was very humorous over the course of this episode, and I like that. And speaking about Toby, in that regard, I want to see more of that and more of him sort of keeping things light and making jokes, and I think that's an important aspect for any show to have, is that comic relief. And Toby is going to be that comic relief. But also, going back to his gambling, I want to see how that develops over the course of the season, and how he and his habits might put the team in danger, or might result in him getting separated from the team, or some kind of repercussion and consequence. Because, like Walter says, things, not only when they found the team, they were all, a little bit worse off for wear, but if the team fails or slips up, pretty much everyone on the team has nowhere to go. And I think that's going to impact Toby the most, because if he's forced to go back to that habit of gambling and scheming and all that, he's really going to put himself in danger. And where that goes, I'm going to be interested to see. Talking a little bit about Paige, in this episode, she takes on the sort of mother role, and she, patches them up after the exercise, and she continues to nurture the team and add that mother-type role to the team. So I was impressed with that, and with how they continued that sort of storyline of her, because again, she has nowhere to go, and all this stuff, and how she's adding to the team in her own right, and how she's not necessarily a genius, but she's adding her own input and adding her own touch to the team. And where that goes is going to be cool to watch, and how she continues to contribute is going to be cool to watch. And at what point she actually earns the respect of, in particular, Toby, who I don't think 100%, because he says in the episode, I still don't know what exactly you do on the team, but I like you and I like having you here. So what it takes for her to develop as a stronger member of that team is going to be a huge part of the season, I think. And again, her relationship with her son continues to develop. And I think as we see that over the course of the season, we're going to see them get closer and closer and closer. And if they can maybe work as a team, as a sort of side-by-side team where Ralph is the intellect and she is the EQ, Ralph is the IQ and she is the EQ, they can almost combine their thought process and contribute to the team a little bit more and a little bit better. Talking a little bit about Sylvester in this episode, he actually has a very strong episode, I think. Towards the end of the episode, he captures the FSG guy with the gun, and he points the gun at the guy, and he says, I don't want to shoot this. I don't actually know how to shoot this, but you need to relax, dude, and chill out and drop your weapon and just, you're arrested and all this stuff. And an interesting question that I had after the episode, and I want to kind of bring up and talk to you guys about. I talk in my other reviews about how I think that Paige and Walter are going to pair off, and Toby and Sylvester are going to pair off. Toby and Happy are going to pair off. And what I'm asking, what I'd like to ask you guys is a question that I had would be maybe an odd pairing, but a pretty interesting and an entertaining pairing to watch would be Cabe and Sylvester, because they sort of captured the FSG agent together, and I'm wondering if maybe Cabe and Sylvester will start to form a bit of a bond here and work together, and Cabe will help Sylvester along with his OCD and with his problems, and teach him how to use a gun and teach him how to be an agent of the FBI and of the task force. And maybe Sylvester will add a little bit of a friendship to Cabe and have Cabe open up a little bit more. So that would be cool to watch. That would be an entertaining pairing, and that would be sort of an odd pairing, but that's just the vibe that I got. And again, I wanted to bring that up to you guys. So that wraps up my thoughts on Sylvester. I want to finish off the character aspects here with Happy. And in my last two reviews, I talk a little bit about how I'd like to see more from Happy and how I didn't think that we were seeing enough of her character. And I swear it's like every time I come up with something to talk about this episode and critique this series with, the very next episode they fix that problem. In my season 1 episode 1 review, I talk about how the structure of the story was a little bit clunky, and then in episode 2 they fixed that. And then I talked about how we're seeing a little bit less of Happy than I would have liked. And in this episode they fixed that. And it's really it's awesome to see that, and to see that the things that they are struggling with, they're starting to fix and they address over the course of the season. And in this episode, Happy pretty much saves the day. She comes up with that whole thing about mixing the janitorial supplies and fixing the bomb up so that the bomb explodes only in the garage. And I really enjoyed seeing more out of Happy. We saw her at the beginning of the episode kick that Marine in the nuts, and seeing her character develop and seeing the different aspects of her character it was really cool to watch this episode. And again, she interacted with that Marine, and she stuck up for the team, and she stuck up for Paige a little bit, talking to Paige back and forth and having her conversation with Paige, and like, I know what you're trying to do, but just leave me alone. And she, again, saved the garage. So to see each member of the team start to get their moments in the sun a little bit here is a very cool thing to see and very entertaining. And I'm I want to say, impressed with the series so far and how they're handling each character and each episode. And that wraps up my thoughts on the characters of this episode and the growth that we saw in this episode. So just general thoughts on the episode. I thought it was a strong episode, and it was a very nice and a very good choice to have early in this season an episode where we see that the team and building this team and keeping the team together is not going to be as easy of a task as we thought it might be, and how it was laid out on paper. It's going to be tough to for the team to find their way and the way that they fit in, tying back into that theme of the episode of Walter talking to Ralph about how everybody eventually fits in. It's going to be interesting to see how the team fits in to Homeland Security and how they're able to be utilized by Homeland Security and by the FBI, and to see how they continue to interact and clash with the way that Homeland Security wants to conduct the team and the way that the team wants to conduct themselves. Going back to what Toby said about how each member of the team has their problems. You know, Walter's a narcissist, Sylvester has OCD and all these different phobias, Toby has got his gambling problems, and Happy is antisocial and violent towards a lot of people and very antisocial. And going back and talking about how the team as a team is going to have problems fitting in. As individuals, I think the team is going to have problems. What's the word I'm looking for? Not fitting in, but reconciling with their new role with the Homeland Security and with FBI, and meshing with that dynamic. The team that we saw in the first two episodes, you know, they got the job done. They didn't have a lot of problems, and in this episode, they sort of peel that curtain back a little bit and say it's not going to be quite as easy as it looked those first two episodes. There's going to be road bumps and problems along the way here, and finding a way for each individual to connect and for the team to connect is going to be a task. And again, I think that's a very important thing for Paige to play into, is keeping everybody emotionally on track, and adding that emotional aspect to the team, and adding that sort of mother figure to the team, and keeping everyone together. And that wraps up my thoughts on the episode. Again, like I said, very strong episode, very nice decision to peel that curtain back and show that the team is not going to have as easy a time as we thought. If you enjoyed the review, leave a like, comment down below, and talk about what I might have talked about or what I might have missed. Talk about your thoughts on the Cabe-Sylvester situation. If you want to go ahead and check out my other reviews, on Tuesdays I do Gotham reviews, on Wednesdays I do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reviews, and then on Thursdays I do Scorpion reviews. And coming up very soon here on Mondays, I'm going to be doing Constantine reviews. So if you want to check those out, share the video on Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, wherever you got to share the video. Get the video out there. Subscribe to the channel if you want to watch those reviews that I talked about. Follow me on Twitter at the DH Reviews, and we can talk about all these different things, and we can kind of connect a little bit better. And with that said, again, if you want to watch Scorpion, that premieres on CBS on Mondays at 9 p.m. So we can watch that together. If you want to watch that, that's when you can see that on CBS. And that'll do it for this week. If you have any suggestions or questions, I encourage you to leave those in the comments. I want to thank you guys for watching, for another week of support, and for another week of you guys watching and supporting these videos. It means a lot to me, and I'm trying very hard to get into the groove here and get used to producing these videos. And I think we did a very good job this week, not only on my end, but on your end in terms of support and in terms of getting these videos out. And I'm very proud of you guys, and I'm very proud of what the channel's done so far. And I want to continue doing that, and I thank you guys for allowing me to continue doing that. So with that said, I've been Dharma Helper, and I will see you guys next week with my Gotham reviews starting on Tuesday. So with that being said, I've been Dharma Helper, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good weekend, and see you later.